coming from tank players just to directly block bullets for their team. Typically, we'll find a lot more play around the map corners, map angles. Often people going for cheeky flanks and stuff. Yeah, Dion loves this.
Yeah, they get to use the environment a lot more. It's a bit more tactical. Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is great.
So it kind of, that was one of the first things that came out of our original playtesting, and we were just like, this is a really good direction. I mean, like I mentioned, there's like, as a designer, you sort of have to look past the immediate problems in front of you and like, okay, we can fix those. Like, I think we can address, some of the tank imbalances and healing issues and all kinds of other stuff. But at the heart of this is really cool, and so that's really what we've been focusing on and working through these problems.
I think something that's really interesting about that too is the gameplay is more fluid than it was before.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of times in Overwatch you get these really hard battle lines that get drawn between the two teams, and there's just less damage incoming. And so you're able to kind of move around a little bit more, and you'll see it here a lot of times. The chokes aren't as hard of a space to get through. There's still a choke in the map and you still have to work at it, but there can be a lot more like pushing through and pulling back on the choke, and it's something that I'm like personally really excited about.
Yeah, I was going to say, how has the 5v5 move affected map design? I feel like it kind of has to have a huge impact on what you guys are able to do, create different, speaking about like players being able to take more control of the game, right? Creating more flanking routes, more opportunity for the Ashe to go to the side, get a pick, and open things up for a team.
Yeah, there's a lot more opportunity for players to do that. But at the same time, when you go for a flank, you're not leaving 5 players behind. You're leaving 4 players behind, and so you kind of have to be weighing some of these decisions in your head. The game is just as strategic as it was before, if not more so, because of the individual ability for players to have such a large impact on the match. I think for map design, we've always been really careful to make spaces that feel good just for one hero. And sometimes we might favor particular heroes in different areas, but because of that, because we're able to make a space that kind of feels good for Reaper or a space that feels good for Pharah, I think that we'll still be able to play 5v5 on all of the original catalog of Overwatch maps as well.
Right. That is a awesome payload, Dion, by the
way. And we've always, in the artwork of the maps, we've always placed what we consider cover objects. It just feels now with the 5v5, players will take advantage of that more. Even the previous maps, we planned cover objects to help protect players. Now with 5v5, they're even more effective, these artistic choices.
It's such a great point too, because we have started placing a little bit more cover in our maps. And if you go back to some of the old maps, like if you look at King's Row, that middle section, that street section of King's Row, there's one piece of cover in that entire section. Yes. It's just corners of buildings is what you're using.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think you can kind of see it here, even with stuff like that. I know the taxis here in the streets, you have the little kind of windows, the pillar to hide behind in the middle. There's a route through the subway. There's so many different kind of angles you can take. Something we saw at BlizzCon Line was the 2 Fire Strike, Charge, Cancel Reinhardt. I noticed something before, Jeff, when we were on with Winston. My Winston on live not able to shoot at range. Can you explain that to us a little bit?
So yeah, I was wondering if people picked up on that. So we were first watching Winston there. This is an example of some of the tank changes we're talking about in regards to 5v5, but also a larger change we're talking about making tanks a lot more aggressive, be able to be a little more hybridy on the damage side and less just raw protection. So on Winston's side, he's ulting right now, unfortunately. You can't see it, but he can't do it while he's ulting. But his alternate fire there, which he's doing right now, there it is. You can charge up like a condensed blast of lightning from his gun and fire it off as a single sort of like blast attack at longer range. And so he actually, the charge up is kind of interesting with it for him because you could do it while you're leaping, and so there's like theoretically more burst combos you can do where you're jumping on top of somebody, charging up in the air, and burst, release it right before you land on them, and then you get the stomp damage too, and you can shock them or do a quick melee combo. It's a lot more interesting things. On top of the fact that, with some players know a lot of times you're you shock somebody, they're getting away, you think you can finish them, and they just fair abuse away, or somebody just barely gets away. You get that extra, alternate fire shot to try to take them out on the way. And it's actually interesting playing against them now because you now are cognizant of that. So sometimes you're leaving a little earlier, like, well, I'm gonna get blasted probably if I just run away. So I have to be able to survive that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the decisions all Winston players face. Is like, okay, I've jumped on this player, I've gotten them weak. I can either now get out of my bubble and try to finish them off, or just kind of hope a teammate does. But now giving him, I think it kind of goes back to more like that player, agency that you were talking about, being able to kind of take over the game, being able to finish it off. This the nano boosted Ryan. This will never get old. Just seeing Reinhardt nano boosted, just swinging. I'm sure it makes the fans out there happy that that was a Dragon Blade, a Gelton Genji he was able to take out. It's kind of the bane of existence of a lot of people. But this looks like, I guess, the second checkpoint, right? So this will unlock the interior
of Grand Central Station.
Oh, this is awesome. So it goes in. So the payload kind of goes inside of the station and kind of curves around, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And you can see the payload is driven by an Omnic, who is a little Easter egg to our production director on the team. Our executive producer.
So he got a name.
Yes, Chaco.
He's gonna be a fan favorite. Oh, he's even got it on the back. I didn't realize. I thought it was like an unofficial name. Like, oh yeah, it's Chaco. No, he's got the suit.
Our executive producer, so he's helped us out a lot, and it was only fitting. He has
he's lived in New York as well, so he helped out a lot on this map.
So,
and we have countless debates about the right type of pizza with him as well.
Yes, right.
Well, yeah, I mean, New York style pizza is the dominant pizza. I believe it's the water, but that is probably for a different stream.
Yeah, you really want to get into this?
My thoughts on the water in New York creating the better pizza dough. You also notice, at least I notice, the new sounds, especially when Ashe shoots. That is something that it was discussed at BlizzCon Line, but I think it's different to kind of see it in action and also to see all of the other players at the same time with those audio changes. It just makes the game feel even more realistic.
Yeah, the sounds can get really punchy, and it just feels good to hold the trigger down with these different heroes. But you also get more information from it. So we've spent a lot of time not just developing what these sounds are, but how they play in different environments. So we've kind of upgraded the entire sound system across the game. So let's say when that Ashe is in a side room firing from that room, you really kind of understand where they're at and what type of environment that they're in better than you did before. And then you can kind of take that information and make different decisions or additional decisions because of it.
All right, so we got a map complete from the offense here. Not bad. Not bad in their first go. The players are so competitive. I have to say this to the stream, that we were like, yeah, this is fun. Like, everybody have a great time. And then everyone's like, put your SR in the chat. We're going to make balanced teams. Like, who's playing what? It's just, I feel like it's just the nature of Overwatch, right? Like, it always starts off, yeah, let's play for fun. And then, you lose a game. You're like, all right, like, everybody pick it up. Like, let's change things.
It's like that meme when you're playing, relaxing in your chair, and then you lose, and you lean forward, get a little more, get the game-winning posture.
It's those nights of ranked where you lose like 2, and you're like, you win 1, and then you're like, all right, play to lose, and then you lose a few more, and then the next thing you know, you wake up, you're like, well, why'd I do that? Like 500 SR down the drain. That's so this will be an opportunity to see, like, Roadhog has a solo tank coming in for the offensive side here. I feel like he's just gonna be, even on live, right? He just takes up so much space, Jeff. Like, and he takes up space not with a shield, but like just his body. As I say that, we have a Zarya swap. But talk to me a little bit about like the thoughts on how like the Roadhogs of the world, Divas, even Zarya. I know there's some interesting stuff with Zarya as a solo tank.
Yeah, so like I said before, a lot of this is still work in progress. We're still sort of addressing hero by hero. But like, because once we started going to one tank, it was sort of the big question was like, what direction are we pushing tanks now? We're trying to make Roadhog, a lot more static defensively and have, big barriers or something to protect his team, or do we want more the opposite, where like we take the Reinhardts and the Orissas and Sigmas and actually give them some more aggression and be a little more like Roadhog and Diva. And so we definitely opted for that latter route after playing, because it's like, not only is it just more fun to have that kind of extra speed and aggression, but a lot of what people had a lot of comments on in the past, when the metas get too full of barriers and shields, and honestly even sometimes when there's just the one Orisa blocking you with just the chain shields, and it's just like, people had comments like, I just feel like I'm shooting shields all the time, like we were definitely hearing all that, and you could see some of the balance changes we made in the past in the live game have been trying to address this, but once we got into this situation where we're like, this is sort of an opportunity actually here to reduce a lot of these effects, and we still want them to be there and present and be important, and you can still block huge abilities. They still have a decent amount of health, but less than they had before. But then in response to that, you can see Reiner here. He hit the wall right there. He didn't cancel it, but you can cancel your charge, and you can get two fire strikes. So the canceling charge is one of those like sneaky things that seems like to some people might be kind of a minor change, but it almost like completely changes how he plays in a lot of ways. It's actually really fun because you can it has a really fast recovery when you cancel, so you can like charge up to a group and then cancel and immediately ult and just like knock everyone down. So the fact that you can even do that is its own now like sort of mini game that people play, where you can kind of bluff with it. If people know you have your ult or think you have your ult, you can just charge right at them, and they're trying not to get stunned. Like, they don't want to fight you necessarily like normally, because they don't want to get earth shattered. So sometimes you can like bluff people and are running for cover and you didn't even have it, or you save it or something. So, and it also just allows him to get in there and be more aggressive without sacrificing his health bar.
Yeah, it just sounds like another change, almost like how you kind of mentioned like stuff like that Winston combo, kind of as you're playing and testing and seeing all these different things. Like, yeah, where the Winston combo, you can load up that secondary fire, like get the jump damage, land on somebody, take them out. Like now you kind of have like this like little meta game with like Reinhardt play, right? Where now you kind of have like this another layer of canceling the charge, being able to. I remember there was one clip, I think, from BlizzCon Line, and just like a trailer where he charges towards the team, cancels, and then shatters them all. Being able to make plays like that just seems so sick.
He's also got the ability to control his charge more, so you can actually turn around corners more.
Oh yeah.
So the charge, while you can cancel, it's also more aggressive and it's more versatile. I think something else that's really interesting, if you look at if people have noticed what's happening with Zarya, is she has 2 charges to her bubble now.
But they share charges is the trick. It's actually what we play tested in the April Fool's patch. So as people probably noted, like some of those changes a lot of them were just silly, kind of fun, like permanently flying Sigma. But there were some changes we threw in there. I was like, let's see how people react to this. I'm curious what people think. Like, maybe this is something we can try. And the Zarya bubbles is one of those things. So.
Aaron,
it's something we just recently kind of put in,
right?
Oh yeah.
It took me a while to get used to the new changes, but once I really dug in and settled with these changes, I realized it's how I always wanted to play Reinhardt this way, basically. The charge in and
yeah, we were joking about that the other day, where I'm like. Yeah, like the canceling the charge just feels so right that but you're so like trained to kind of how it is, like where you're just charging into walls,
right.
that I was like, I don't have to do this anymore.
No.
Like I can just go. Like it's such like a great quality of life change.
Yeah, something else I think that's really interesting here is this fight's been going on for a while. Neither tank has fallen. And the support had been doing such a good job at keeping the tanks up, because there's only one of them that they have to actually focus on, and the fights feel really, really good being the tank player now. Like, the amount of times you get into this situation where it feels hopeless, you're low on health, there's a bunch of the enemy players focusing on you, and you're able to still come out of it. It feels so incredibly good, and you feel really powerful.
Yeah, it's I think that has to be something that you guys have kind of gotten in feedback, that from a support's point of view, you're able to dump resources into just one tank, and that also probably frees you up to do a little bit of other stuff, right? Where Batiste can do a little bit more damage. Zen, you can kind of orb the tank and then focus on the damage. That probably has to be way easier in supports now.
For sure. Yeah, we got a lot of feedback from support players that it's a lot easier to focus, and a lot of times you almost have this like communication between the two support players, and you have like Mercy's like, I'm just going to be on tank duty and just be on tank basically the whole time, and you have like a Lucio or something like that to spot heal everybody else and speed everybody up. But there's other strats. Like sometimes we've seen people go too big heal, main healers essentially, and try to just focus so hard on their tank that even with like Discord Orb on them, it's just hard to kill them. So that's going to be an interesting strat too. So I'm not even sure like what the quote-unquote meta is entirely yet, especially because we're changing things all the time. I guess it's pretty hard for them to settle, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
This Zen UI is new.
Oh yeah.
It actually looks really cool. This is something obviously that's incredibly new. I think on live, like it's kind of displayed on the right.
Yeah,
we're generally looking through this.
Go ahead. Sorry, Jeff.
I was saying we're generally looking at anywhere we can improve hero-specific UI stuff like this, and we felt like this could use a big update and be a lot more readable.
Yeah, I think one of the things I'm most excited about with the healer UI is it's not just on Zen, but it's on Mercy also. You see the portrait of the player that you're healing, and so it's just a lot easier to kind of figure out who you've got instead of just using something like a nameplate,
and it's not off to the side, right? It's like center screen, so you're able to still kind of focus down the middle.
Yeah, and you can see his Discord is down there as well. So you have like Harmony and Discord orbs are kind of both shown on each side of the ult at the bottom of the screen.
We have an overtime here. I can imagine the comms are everybody's starting to get pretty sweaty now. We get towards the end of the map. This has really been, I gotta say for you guys probably, this is probably awesome to see, like the game actually being, it's one thing I think to play, but now to like observe and be able to watch, and obviously the people you guys work with every day, this has to be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely is. We've been playing it